Welcome to Allenberry Reports TV. I'm your host, Allenberry Labucan from allenberryreports.com. So in Vancouver during the last few days, there's been a mining conference that's hosted by the folks over at Cambridge House Conferences. And it's a really great opportunity for me to get out there and do research, shake hands with people that are running the companies that we follow, and also meet with people that watch our shows or read our reports, and also have being in the sector for the last close to 20 years. I have a lot of friends that are in the industry as well, and unfortunately we don't get to see each other quite as much as we'd all like, and these kind of conferences that come out a few times a year are a really great opportunity for everybody to get together. So it's a chance to meet with friends and business associates, people that check out our reports and all that. And so, and then really importantly, also do a lot of homework and research on the companies and trying to find new companies that we want to put in our reports and talk about, and also keep updated on the companies that we currently do follow as well. And so I thought what I'd do with today's show is just sort of give you an overview or a snapshot or whatever you may want to call it about how the show went and the observations that I had while I was at the show. So I'm going to break it down into the 2 days. Sunday was one day, and then Monday was the next. And I think that was the 20th and 21st, or 22nd, 23rd, one of those two combinations. Anyways, so day one of the show, I generally try to get there about an hour after the show is already started. It gives the initial rush of people to get in there, and even though I was about an hour after the show had started to get into the lineup to get into it, there was quite a long lineup. It probably took a good 20 minutes or so, and so very well attended. Probably in my recollection, I would estimate that it may have been one of the busiest Vancouver resource stock conferences that I can remember going to over the years. So it was a very well attended show. There was a lot of enthusiasm out there for resource type stocks and for commodities as well. I mean, ultimately that's what these companies are looking to find. So there was it was really well attended. Now, on the first day of the show, what I really try to do is to go around to the various companies that have banner sponsorships on our website. The reason I do that is I always try to be well informed about every company that I follow, regardless of whether they're a banner sponsor or a featured company in our reports or I talked about them on the shows. I like to stay very well informed, and I even amp that up a little bit for the companies that are banner sponsors. And so I thought I'd give you a quick sort of synopsis of our chats with the four companies that are sponsors to our banner sponsors on our website. By the way, if you're watching the show on our website, and you look to my left over there, those are the banner sponsors of the show, of our work, and on our website, and their banners are directly linked to the company's websites, where you can go and do homework on those companies. And so I'm going to go in order of how I ran into him at the conference, and then to give you an idea of what I did on day one of the show. So one of the first company that I ran into was the folks at Extore. Now Extore has a really outstanding high-grade high-grade gold and silver project in Argentina. And this project that Extore Gold Mines has is in a really good area where they can drill and work pretty much year-round on their project, and so it's not hindered by weather during any part of the year. So it's that from a logistical perspective, that's a really good situation. And then it's also easy access to the project as well. So these are things going forward for it in a exploration sense, but also help if they are to bring it into production down the road. Now, what's most exciting about Extore, they have a group of projects in Argentina, but the key project is their Cerro Moro project, and particularly the one that's, they've got two key zones that they've sort of been drilling into, or possibly one big zone. Escondida, I believe, is the name of the main one that they've been drilling. And then the new discovery that really caught a lot of people's attention is the Zoe discovery that could be an extension of Escondida. And so why that caused a lot of enthusiasm for Extore when they first made that discovery is because it's a very high grade. It's high grade gold and silver, and the zone is very close to surface. So all of these things combined are kind of ideal of what you're looking for if you're an exploration company that wants to turn into a mining company. To have high grade, it helps with your margins. To have it near surface, much easier access to it, to get it out of the ground. When you have an area where you can work year round and get into the area easily. These are all things that are a great combination for what an exploration company is looking for, and ultimately can turn that company into a mining company. And they really got a great discovery down there on Cerro Moro, and their Zoe discovery, and plenty of exploration targets throughout that project. They're really just sort of starting to roll up their sleeves and get into that project. And so that was one company we met with, and now right beside them, they kind of share one big booth, is Exeter Resources. And why they share is because they have, not only they share a booth, they also share a lot of similar management. In fact, Extore was a spin-out from Exeter Resources about a couple of years ago, I think now. And what Exeter has is they have one of the largest undeveloped gold copper projects in the world. It's a multi-million ounce gold discovery and multi-billion pounds of copper as well. These kind of projects are quite unique. There's not very many of them in the world. Exeter has one of them. They've done extensive drilling to establish that they have this large discovery, and now they're doing the advanced works to assess the economic viability of the project. And they're actually taking kind of a two-pronged approach to it. One would be to go into full-scale open pit mining of the overall deposit and design it that way. Or another option that they have is they have this sort of core of the project near surface that the possibility is you start mining that part and then use the funds from that to build a much bigger operation. And so they're taking that two-pronged, they've got a couple of options there that they're assessing, and they're assessing the economic viability of the project. And these two companies are quite a combination. They've got one there in Extore that has a high-grade copper gold in a really great area that looks like it has the potential of being a mine. And then they've also got in Exeter, they have one of the world's largest undeveloped copper gold discoveries. And that's a heck of a team that runs those two companies, and they're kind of closely managed there. And so those were the two companies we had a chance to talk to, Exeter and Extore. And then Then we went and talked to the folks over at Sandgold. Sandgold, again, all of these are banner sponsors. I want everybody to know that when I'm talking about these companies. I always try to make that disclosure up front when I talk about companies that have banners on our website. And so Sandgold is another company with a banner on our website, and spent a fair bit of time with them as well. And what recently they've really gone through a good 2011 was sort of a real transition year for the company. They were increasing the amount of production they have at their Rice Lake deposit gold mine, and as they were increasing the production, that helps you get the economies of scale that start to really be beneficial to the bottom line of what you're producing. And so a real focus of Sandgold during 2011 was to get those production numbers up, which they did quite handsomely. The other thing, just like any gold mining company, you all want to be trying to replace what you're producing each year so that you can keep going long into the future. And their exploration was focused on one zone, the 007 zone, that they did a lot of drilling on, and they were able to expand that zone quite dramatically. And this will keep them well supplied, if you will, with ore to produce gold in the coming years, and for quite some time off of that one zone. And so they had, not only were they able to increase the production like they were shooting for, they also had a lot of success with the drilling rig, and that success with the drilling rig helps them have production going forward. And so as I said, Sandgold was sort of in 2011 going through some sort of a transition period, and I think that all of the work that they've done puts them in a really good position for growth in 2012. And so we talked with the Sandgold folks, and again, all of these companies, Sandgold, Exeter, Extore, you just click on their banners over there on our website. It'll take you to their websites where you can find lots of information and do your own research about these companies and these projects. And I think as you do, you'll understand why we're so excited about these companies. And so then the final company that we talked to was the folks over at Red Star Gold Corp. And Red Star, not only are they a company that has a banner on our website, I also do some consulting with them on corporate development kind of consulting, and I've known the guys there for many years, and so I had a chance to sit down with the guys and go over everything. I mean, I keep well informed on them throughout all the time, but it's always nice to see all the boys in the team and have a chat. And so the things that are exciting about Red Star is that one, the key project is the Newman Todd project in Red Lake, Ontario. It's hard to say key project. I would say the most advanced with drilling done by Red Star. And so at Red Star, in the Red Lake Newman Todd project, what the company has there is a very exciting high-grade discovery of gold. They've drilled, it's got to be close to 80 holes or more now, and all of the holes that have been drilled into this Newman Todd zone have all hit high-grade gold. And so when you get a lot of high-grade gold in your drill holes in Red Lake, especially when it's within the first 400 meters, most of the main discoveries in Red Lake, Ontario are quite deep, lower than, well below 1,000 meters, where they get into these really super high-grade discoveries. And oftentimes what you do is you use the drilling success that you have in the first 400 meters to sort of guide you on how you want to drill at depth. And that's where Newman Todd is. And now Also, during 2011, Red Star also acquired the Unga project up in Alaska. Now, that project had been sort of on the sidelines hadn't had any work since the 1980s, and actually back in the early 1900s there was a mine there, and but there hadn't been any real exploration on the project since about the 1980s, and the reason for that is the project was owned by an oil and gas company that sort of inherited it when they acquired another company, so they didn't really have a lot of interest in gold and silver, and so it just sat there, and Red Star was able to do a deal to acquire that project, and late in 2011 there was a small drill program, and when you're doing these small drill programs you're sort of trying to get an idea of what they were doing in the past drilling, and sort of give you an idea of where you want to go in the future. So it's a bit of confirmation to sort of give you some confidence about what's happened in the past and the work that they had done, and then sort of guide you to where you want to go in the future with the project. And so those two projects, I expect to see a lot of drilling this year on both the Red Lake project and Alaska. And then also the company has a group of projects down in Alaska as well, in Nevada, that also are highly prospective. They were found. The projects were picked using a geological database that was designed by a major mining company. In fact, the person who worked for them to develop this database is Jake Margalis, who is one of the is the project manager for the U.S. exploration at Red Star, and so he's the guy sort of in charge in trying to find projects, and then you want to try and find majors that are bigger companies that will spend money to explore them and see if there's something there, and so. That is the sort of key areas that Red Star is: Red Lake, Ontario, Alaska, and Nevada, and they're going to be doing a lot of work in 2012, and so those are the four companies that are banner sponsors. We've also had other companies that have been banner sponsors in the past. They're no longer banner sponsors, but we always, even those companies, we try to keep really well informed on them, and we had some good meetings with those companies as well. And so day one was a really good day for me at the conference. Also had a chance to meet with some of the people that watch our shows and follow our reports, and so I always love to meet those kind of folks, and it was a great opportunity to do that as well. So day one was really good. Then on day two of the conference, I had a group of friends and associates that I kind of, for lack of a better word, I kind of guide them around the conference, and what we do when we're going around the conference is I sort of look for the companies that I follow, and then the most exciting ones, we stop and I start to explain to them why we follow them. If the management of the company is available and they're not too tied up talking with other folks, we try to get an update from them of what they're doing. And these sort of interactions, when I get to talk to companies that I'm doing research on, I always like the chance to meet people face to face. You can write endlessly about a project, but to convey the enthusiasm and that sort of stuff, it's face-to-face is really great way to do that. And so I kind of wish that these conferences were in Vancouver more often, because there's a lot of companies that come to these conferences, and I'd love to meet with more of them and sort of do this face-to-face kind of research, but also there's a lot of people at the conference, so you can't always get a chance to meet with the folks there that run those companies. But nonetheless, we did get a chance to talk with some of them, and when I'm going through, we tend to walk by a lot of companies, and sort of, it's not because we're trying to be rude or don't want to learn about their companies. I only focus on certain kinds of companies. I'm looking for companies that are involved with gold, silver, copper, uranium, diamonds, and oil. And I want to look for those companies that have those kind of projects in mining friendly jurisdictions. So if they're, let's say, for example, involved with rare earth elements, that's a part of mineral exploration that I don't really cover. And so we tend to walk by those companies. If they're involved in countries where, there is added risk, well, finding mines is hard enough as it is. I don't need to add added risk of, country risk type of political situation. So we tend to walk by those companies pretty quickly as well. But then we run into the companies that, I do follow. Either I've talked about them on past shows. If you look above me on the website, you'll see a shows section. In that shows section, we have all of the past shows, the title, the date, what we talked about, the companies that we followed, and most of the companies that we've featured in our past email newsletter, that we don't do the free email newsletter anymore. We transitioned into a private paid for subscription model for our written reports now. But we did 29 reports in the past, and followed probably about 49 companies, almost 50 companies that were featured in those reports. And most of them, again, you can see most of them are in the shows section of the we talked about them on shows as well. And so there's a lot of people there. But when I'm walking around and we're trying to get these presentations by companies, often what I find myself that I have to do is, a lot of my friends that I was walking with, and they are not geologists, and a lot of these companies tend to be run by geologists, and they tend to talk in geospeak, I call it. So they talk in geologist type of conversation. And what I've always done is I try to break that technical stuff down into more of a average person's English, and try to make it much easier for a broader audience to understand. And so often when we're talking to these companies face to face, I do some interpretation there for folks so that they can understand the geospeak. And so in fact, one of the gentlemen, he didn't know me. I had never met him before, and he said, you should do courses on this. It's very helpful when you're explaining this stuff. You do it much better than I do. And I thanked him for that. It was a very kind thing to say. And why I find it so kind is, that's really a fundamental thing of what I've tried to do with the reports over the years, is try to take what is highly technical and break it down so that more people can understand it. And so that was a very nice compliment that we got. And so that was what we did on day 2. Now, also during day 2, in addition to trying to find candidates for future picks that I might include in the private reports, or if I get invited on to do interviews, I also like to have some potential candidates there as well. And so that was part of the focus of day 2, or both days, is to find some future picks, and we did find some that we're doing some more extensive homework on. So if you're a private report subscriber, stay tuned, because we've got some good picks for you there. Now, when we're doing the walk around, oftentimes folks will pull me over. As I said, I've been in the business for almost 20 years, so I know a lot of people. One of the most common questions that I get over the years is, where do I see the markets going? And one of the things that I pointed to is that I reference often at this show what I had to say in my Outlook 2012 report. That was a recently done one. You can find it in the shows section. In a couple days, I'm going to be updating the section below the video player on the main page, so you're going to be able to find it down below this video in a couple days as well. I'm just working on that, but so if you go to the shows section, you can find that Outlook 2012, and in the Outlook 2012 report, I talk about commodities, all those commodities I mentioned earlier, stock markets, currencies, bonds, interest rates, and so a lot of this show actually comes at a good time, because when I'm getting these questions of where do I see the market going, or where do I see stocks going, I've done a whole lot of homework in late December, or most of December and into January, to do that Outlook 2012. So it's really fresh on my mind. And one of the key things that we got into was people are aware of the sort of fear that's out there. There's been a lot of volatility in the markets in the last few years, and so there's an inherent sort of fear. And even though a lot of the companies I follow are very small in market cap relative to the companies in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, when investors in general are trying to wonder what's going on with the stock market, they often look at the Dow Jones. And so it is sort of the barometer of sentiment for investors towards stocks in general. And so it's hard, even if you've got commodity prices rising, if there's a lot of general fear, the resource stocks tend to underperform the movement in the price of the commodities. And we saw a lot of that in 2011. And why I think 2012 is going to be different is I think that the Dow is going into a more bullish trend. I'm looking at the valuations of the companies and the earnings growth of those companies, and based on historical averages, they are trading at really steep bargains right now. And so I think that as the Dow starts to improve, I think the economy will help. As the economy starts to improve, the Dow's starting to improve, and these valuations will start to catch up to the earnings growth. And so I think that that's going to help out the sentiment a lot. So in that kind of an environment, I think that you're going to see bullish markets for gold, oil, copper, uranium, silver, stocks in general, resource stocks in particular, because they look to be very oversold and ready to rally. So from a general sense, I'm really bullish on stocks right now going forward, based on whether you're looking at the big ones or the smaller companies. I think there's a lot of good stocks out there that are trading at really inexpensive prices. And so that was the some of the key points that I took away from the recent conference, and thought I'd share it with you guys, and I hope that it's helpful. So I'm going to wrap up now. Before closing, I always like to stress that this show and our reports are for information purposes only. We aren't making buying or selling recommendations. It's important for you to do your own research and speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decision. We're always trying to grow our audience, so any efforts you make to get the word out about our website, our reports, our shows, is greatly appreciated. Also, we'd like to send some thank you messages out. We use youtube.com as our platform to produce and broadcast these shows. We wouldn't be able to do, well, we could do it without them, but we love working with YouTube, so we want to thank them. We also want to thank our banner sponsors. Again, check them out over there on the website. They're really instrumental in us being able to do the work that we do, so we want to thank them and encourage you to check them out and do your homework on those companies. And of course, to you, the viewers, if you didn't show up, we wouldn't have a reason to do the show, so thank you very much for tuning in. On that note, well, We're always working on shows. We're always, if you want to keep up on all the work that we do, if you look up in the top left-hand corner of the website, there's a way to subscribe for free to our updates if you're not already updated. We recently started a shop section of our website, and we're putting out some private reports that you can buy on there, and you can subscribe for a year, or you can just buy individual reports. And so that's another way that we fund the work that we do, and so we encourage you to check out the shop section. In fact, we just added a video last week to that shop section, so you can learn a little bit about what we do with those reports. So we encourage you to check that out as well. So on that note, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.